despierta.
Yeah, I got fucking nothing for this one. Look, sometimes I just want to shoot the shit and talk about whatever's on my mind without having that big purpose or wanting to teach people about whatever nonsense I find interesting. Sometimes I just want to talk about stuff I like, and well, I wanted to talk about Sonic for a bit. I'm not here to talk about the movie or the latest game or the latest death battle or anything. I just wanted to share how I came to love this blue fuck and why he means so much to me. Believe it or not, I actually didn't know who Sonic was when I was a really young kid. I was on 5th grade of primary school, so I was about 9 or 10, give or take. My family made plans to go to this one event happening at the time called Cumbre Tajín, and said that we would be staying with some relatives. You know the type. They apparently know everything about you, but you could swear that you've never seen these people in your life. So we got to this place and I had a laptop with me. Since I was never going to go to the event proper because I was a small child and it was a big music festival, I decided to just stay in and browse the internet late at night. There I just saw things that any kid during the 2010s would. Cartoon episodes split into 3 parts.
Videos de locuendo los cuales me atrofiaron el cerebro XD.
Webtoons that made me laugh. And then something caught my eye. Something called Sonic Shorts. Yep, my first ever exposure to this series that became a huge part of my life came from this vulgar, silly parody series. And I did not understand a single thing about it. All the jokes and references went over my head. Not only because I was a kid, but also because I just went, ¿Qué carajo es un Sonic? The videos I watched at the time were actually a Spanish dub by this one YouTuber called Sonic Blue Knight. Someone who sadly has been away from the internet for a few years now, and the last thing we heard about him is that he had COVID back in 2022. Fuck. Regardless, a lot of the Sonic content I consumed came from him because, fun fact, I didn't know English at the time, so he was all I got. From him I watched the aforementioned Sonic Shorts, Sonic Comics, a whole documentary about Sonic, and of course, the thing that couldn't be missing from any Sonic fan's childhood, Naso Unleashed. Which again, I didn't understand anything of what was going on, but by God did I think it was the coolest thing ever. And so, I went on this little rabbit hole, wanting to learn about this Sonic character. And I found out that he had a bunch of games that I couldn't play, more on that later, and cartoons. And the cartoon I decided to latch on to was none other than Sonic X. Yes, you can tell me the show sucks all you want, and how the Japanese version is better. You are right! But I still like the show. I was never able to catch it on Jetix, so I had to do the same thing I always did when there was a show on TV I wanted to watch, but couldn't. 3-part episodes on YouTube, baby, let's fucking go! I managed to watch the whole show and now I understood, sorta, who this Sonic guy was. So I went to look into more Sonic content online, which took me to a website I cannot say the name of here because I don't want to pull a Universal and send people to a porn website. If you know, you know. Among the filth, I discovered something wholesome. A series of videos on the channel Sonic Song 182. And there I found something else I latched onto as a kid. Ask the Sonic Heroes. This was around the time I was sort of understanding English better, so this time around I actually was getting what people were saying. Another channel I found at the time was by this artist called Idol Nya, who used to draw and do fandoms on Sonic. She also, funnily enough, was a gateway to another YouTuber I became a fan of as a kid, Shadow759, which led me into this whole rabbit hole of Sonic Gmod animations. God, this is not even mentioning stuff like the AMVs, the fanfiction, the parody videos, and the porn! So much porn! And so you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of Sonic fan content you ate up as a child. But what about the games? Well, I didn't have a lot of those. To not make this story bloated with what were my childhood consoles, I only had two that I was able to get games for consistently. A PS2 and a DS. Now this may come as a shocker, but back then it was rather rare to find Sonic games out in the wild. You gotta understand, I was a Mexican child that lived in a small town with no access to game stores or anything cool like that. Only times I was able to buy games was when my family went on trips to a nearby city, and I never had any luck finding any Sonic games. I tell ya, Sonic just wasn't popular at the time. I'm pretty sure I was the only kid asking all of those store owners for a Sonic game. But one day, I finally found it. My first Sonic game. You might think it was one of the multiple games for the PlayStation 2, but oh no, it was for my trusty DS. Sonic Rush. Now, I'm not usually one to say that I have good taste. I mean, look at the characters I find attractive. It's a disaster. But I am happy to say that my first ever Sonic game was without a doubt one that no one in this forsaken website will tell me is bad or mid or anything of the sort. The game was just good. And by God did I love it. I played it all the time, took it with me everywhere, and fuck, I still have it to this day. It also gave me my OTP that I will forever be obsessed with. Thank you, Rush. I fell even more in love with this series. Hell, I liked it so much that I had a friend who was a huge Mario fan and we bickered over who was better. You know, behavior I am actually happy I grew out of. Speaking of Sonic vs. Mario, it was around this time I discovered all of those sprite fight animations with both of them, which led me to two big things. One was Death Battle, which I still watch to this day, and the other one, of course, being Super Mario Bros. C. It felt like watching Naso all over again, in that I did not understand what was happening, but good lord was it cool as shit. Speaking of things I didn't understand, Nintendo Wii. I never really bothered to play any of the Sonic games on the Wii, mostly because I didn't know there were any. Instead, I played this game called Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Hey, wait a minute. And so, yeah, I kinda main Sonic in every subsequent Smash game. Hell, I even main him in unofficial Smash games too. As time went on, I was becoming a bigger Sonic fan. I got more games of the series, some used, some new, and some were just straight up pirated copies. Viva Mexico, bitch! Hell, I even partook in the very frowned upon practice of making a recolor OC. I don't have a picture of it with me, but it's probably still out there rotting in a notebook in my parents' house. I think 2011 was probably the biggest year for me as a Sonic fan because not only was Generations out, but also because all of the Sonic content was booming at the time. All of those content creators I liked made stuff celebrating the franchise. And then the worst period to be a Sonic fan happened. It's no surprise to anyone during the 2010s was the worst time to be a Sonic fan. Sonic was just kinda a laughing stock for the internet, with internet funny men tearing it down and their fanbase. IGN saying what is basically their most known quote of all time,
Sonic was never good.
and Sonic Team releasing games that, to this day, fans can't even agree if they're good or not. It was a mess. So much so that I kinda kept the fact that I was a Sonic fan to myself online because people were just so fucking volatile for this blue hedgehog. But then a neat little thing happened. I made friends online and they liked Sonic too? Sure, you would have the one asshole on the group who always thought their opinion was right, but I was finally able to talk about all of the things I loved about the series. The characters, the games, the music, the porn. It was just nice. Then college happened and I kinda noticed something. Something upsetting. You see, everyone likes to look at Sonic's history and say that he was very big on the 90s and he went on the decline after that. You might have noticed that I haven't talked about my life as much as I have gone on about my experience with the Blue Blur. Well, thing is, I kinda used to be told that I had a lot of potential as a kid. I was told I would do great things. And then reality hits and... yeah, things didn't go swimmingly for me. Mostly in the school department. Life at home was... fine. But since school life also tends to bleed into life at home, and so... yeah, it wasn't great. As time went on, I kind of had this kinship with Sonic. Not the character, but the series itself. I know it sounds really weird, but hear me out. I think a lot of people could see themselves in the series. A young person having all of this potential as a child. People having all of these expectations on you. But as time passes, you fuck up and have lapses in judgment, and by the time you're a young adult, you just become a burnout who keeps making mistakes. But the thing about Sonic is, he's still around. Multiple series that were around when Sonic was a big deal did not survive the passage of time. Hell, most 90s platform series are just straight up gone, and they only get brought back for a bit to exploit nostalgia. But not Sonic. Sonic, against all odds, kept going. Sonic 06, for all intents and purposes, should have killed him. But it didn't. A game so universally panned, known for being one of the worst games of all time, and it didn't kill the series. In fact, the series kept growing and getting even more fans as time went on. Everyone has a Sonic 06 in their lives. What you do after it is up to you. It's strange to say, but whenever I see the series do something stupid or bad, it bums me out. But when I see it do good, and people praise it and celebrate it, it gives me hope. Hope that I could also do good. Hope that things will be okay. It's a bit cringe to say, but Sonic gives me hope. Hope that life can get better. Hope that I can keep on going even after all of the bad stuff that I've done and that has happened to me. Hope. What a weird thing to attach to this blue rat. So, to sum things up, I became a Sonic fan thanks to other Sonic fans. And I will always be thankful to them for introducing me to this weird, chaotic mess of a series. A series that I will always love, even when it can be seen as a bit of a fuck up and a disappointment. But hey, takes one to know one, no? So, thanks Sonic. Thanks for the memories.
Here's to 30 more years of bad decisions, surprising people, and porn.